July 3rd, 2021. At the Turkish consulate in Sao Paulo, Brazil, police arrested a young man who had been on Interpol's most wanted list and on the run for 3 whole years. While he may look unassuming, this is the face of the mastermind behind a Farmville clone that had everyone from everyday citizens to politicians and celebrities playing and buying microtransactions with the promise that their money would go to support real farmers. But then, in a single day, he vanished. This is the story of a game developer who scammed an entire nation out of $130 million and almost got away with it. Meet Mehmet Aydin. He was born in Bursa, Turkey, did not come from money, and dropped out of school in his teens, working in restaurants to support his family. In his teenage years, he had dreams of becoming a professional rapper, releasing music under the name Ego Man, and meeting with other MCs and producers in the underground Turkish rap scene. Unfortunately, his music career was short-lived, but Aydin did meet some interesting people while chasing his hip-hop dream. A couple of guys who had a shared interest in game making, with backgrounds in coding and design. They really liked the game Farmville, and Aydin suggested forming a partnership. In August 2016, after working on the game for a few years, Aydin founded Ciftlik Bank, a phone app where users invest real money to buy virtual animals, crops, and land. The selling point of the game is that it promises to use player investments to fund real farms and livestock in Turkey, while also returning profits to users. Throughout 2016, the game began spreading, bringing in more than 50,000 players in 8 months. The game was easy to play and addictive, similar to Farmville, Mafia Wars, and other similar games that were popular on Facebook in the early 2010s. On top of this, you don't need a gaming PC to run the game. It plays on your phone or on your laptop. This was one of its major selling points. Hit download, and whether you're at home or on the go, you could start playing right away. But ease of access isn't always the case. For many people in the USA, navigating things like healthcare is harder than it needs to be. That's why my sponsor, ZocDoc, exists. It can be hard to know if you're covered for certain medications, if you're in-network or out-of-network, if your doctor is the right fit for you. ZocDoc is an app that connects patients with healthcare professionals, helping them and helping you to cut through all the clauses and fine print that prevents millions of Americans every year from getting the kind of help they deserve. At the touch of a button, you're able to search and compare local in-network doctors from more than 150,000 providers across 50 states. ZocDoc then takes you through the entire booking process, ensuring that you're not just a number in the system, but a human being receiving care tailored to your needs. The best part is that ZocDoc is free to use. Just download the app or visit their website and get started now. Use ZocDoc to book your next appointment with peace of mind. Thank you, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this video. Now, where were we? Ciftlik Bank continued to grow throughout 2017, and Aydin began solidifying his product in the eyes of the Turkish people. He produces television ads featuring famous Turkish actors who endorse the game. He attends numerous farm openings across the country where he'd show up in a tailored suit surrounded by bodyguards and pose for photos with local politicians and mayors, and he'd perform ribbon-cutting ceremonies, signaling the launch of new farms directly funded by Ciftlik Bank. So far, so good. Ciftlik farms start opening, and the people start to receive the fruits of their labor. Aydin opens Ciftlik shops across Turkey, selling items like honey, cheese, and sausages said to come from the company's animals. It basically let people come and buy food that their gameplay helped produce. The whole thing seemed like a legitimate business. It was good for Turkish farmers, good for the economy, and promoted buying locally grown food. On top of it all, players were actually starting to make money for themselves. Those who started playing Ciftlik Bank when it first released were able to reap the benefits of being early adopters. They invested their money, and after a while, all they had to do was go to their profile, press a button, and the money would be transferred to their account. Quickly, the game began spreading like wildfire. People watching the news saw regular Joes just like them earning thousands of lira just by playing the game. Not wanting to be left behind, people began downloading the game in droves. According to Aval News, in just a few short years, Ciftlik Bank raised more than $120 million and paid out more than $100 million to 62,877 investors. Seeing stats like these, people began taking out their life savings and taking out loans from the bank to put as much money into the game as they could. After all, the news reports were making it sound like free money. But here's the thing. There's no system in modern capitalism that functions the way Ciftlik Bank was supposed to. It's impossible that everyone, everywhere, was making money and benefiting. Someone, somewhere, always has to be exploited for the wheels to continue turning. In this case, it was the exploitation of new players. People would hear about top players cashing out thousands of dollars and think, hey, maybe I can do that too. They'd download the game, put in 1,000 lira in seed money, and start inviting their friends to join along with them. All that money from new players would then funnel its way up the chain of command, funding the payouts of the people at the top, and lining the pockets of, you guessed it, Aydin and his compatriots. Sound familiar? Yeah, it's one of those. It didn't take long for Ciftlik Bank to reach critical mass. There were employees that needed to be paid, shops full of produce that needed to stay stocked, and players at the top of the pyramid trying to withdraw their money. Quickly, the company was spread too thin. The rate at which new players were joining simply could not cover the margins needed to keep everything running. In December 2017, payments to users began to falter. Turkey's Capital Markets Board was receiving complaints from players who couldn't withdraw money from the game. And on January 9th, 2018, the board forced Ciftlik Bank to suspend all new player registrations while they investigated what was happening. This is where everything went downhill. With no new players joining, the game's economy was frozen. Money withdrawal requests are simply being ignored. Millions of dollars are trapped inside the game. Turkish media begins swelling to an uproar, which is when Aydin disappears. He gets on a private jet, flies to South America, and leaves the Turkish people wondering what the hell happened. How could someone get away with this? I mean, the game had celebrity endorsements. It had politicians attending ribbon-cutting ceremonies. How did no one realize that this was a scam? Well, as Ciftlik Bank was growing into a national phenomenon, there was one thing that officials and regulators should have noticed. Ciftlik Bank wasn't a Turkish company. It was registered in North Cyprus. This should have been an immediate red flag for everyone involved. North Cyprus is not recognized internationally as a state and operates outside standard European Union and Turkish banking transparency standards. Basically, this allowed Aydin to transfer millions of lira out of Turkey and into an offshore bank account without triggering regulatory red flags. By the time anyone noticed, Aydin and all of that money was gone. Starting in March 2018, the government launched a full-on investigation, classifying Ciftlik Bank as a criminal organization. Aydin's assets were seized, but he'd already gotten an estimated 1 billion lira out of the company. In total, experts estimate that Ciftlik Bank had siphoned off around 130 million USD from investors and players. Arrest warrants are issued for Aydin and his accomplices, but by the time all of that gets processed, Aydin is already out of the country, taking with him most of that money. Unsure of where he'd vanished to, Interpol issues a red notice for his arrest and extradition. Victims of the scam offer as much as $350,000 for Aydin's capture, dead or alive. Overnight, Aydin goes from the CEO of one of Turkey's most played apps to a fugitive on the run. Unfortunately for the people of Turkey, Aydin has the upper hand. He has the funds to lay low overseas. Perhaps he could change his identity, buy a house in the mountains where no one will find him, take his money and do the smart thing. Live out his days in paradise as a successful criminal mastermind. What's that? Aydin was seen partying in Brazil? He was spotted in Uruguay driving a Ferrari? He gambled away his entire fortune and only has $13 left in his bank account? Okay, maybe this guy isn't the criminal mastermind we thought he was. On the 1st of July 2021, Aydin surrendered himself to the Turkish consulate in Sao Paulo, Brazil. He was extradited to Turkey on July 3rd, and on July 7th, an Istanbul court formally arrested him on charges of establishing a criminal organization and fraud. Over the next 3 years, Mehmet Aydin and his brother Fatih Aydin, along with 48 total other suspects, were put on trial. On February 3rd, 2025, the court returned its verdict. Mehmet and his brother are found guilty of numerous counts of fraud, establishing a criminal organization, money laundering, and tax law violations. The verdict officially recognizes more than 4,500 victims directly affected by the Ponzi scheme, though it's estimated that over 130,000 people were affected in total. The official sentence? 45,376 years and 6 months in prison for both Mehmet and his brother. It's one of the longest prison sentences ever, and rightly so. Ciftlik Bank destroyed the lives of countless people who just wanted to play a phone game and help out their country's farmers. Sadly, most of these people have yet to be compensated for their losses. The Turkish government seized Ciftlik Bank's assets, but instead of paying out individuals defrauded by the company, they've decided to prioritize state treasury collection to make up for the company's enormous tax debt. The countless lives ruined by Aydin's pyramid scheme have remained ruined for the last couple of years. Hopefully the families will receive compensation for their struggles and receive aid from the Turkish government. At the end of the day, Ciftlik Bank should serve as a lesson. 1. Stick to playing Farmville. You don't need to make a clone. And 2. If something seems too good to be true, odds are, it probably is.